it made me realize how many of us have defaulted into hustle. Hustle just looks like doing the most. I'm going to say yes to everything, holding up the mirror to show people where they are doing the most and they can do much less. I remember even talking to entrepreneur friends who was just like, yeah, I don't work Fridays. And it blows people's minds. I can't continue to give you 5 days of my life force on this current salary. So I'm going to drop down my day so I can go out into the open market and get my day rate. I'm just not a good girl when it comes to work, and I love that for me. Just because I can drive in fifth gear doesn't mean that I should all the time. Sometimes you have to take your own medicine.
It is. If you just ignore the cringe and lean into it, you can make it work for you. Welcome to Coffee and Oysters, the London Business Babe podcast, where we get you together with business tips that actually work and let you know where it's worth tapping your oyster. My name is Frances Adara Matthews. I'm a certified Notion consultant and founder of the Notion Bar, where I get my clients together with personalised Notion systems that they love to log into. For my systems loving girlies, never fear. Once a month, I run the big Notion Energy Academy, where you get to ask me, a certified Notion expert, all your burning questions, and we get to unpack all the latest releases. Details in the show notes. Very excited for today's episode, but what's actually going on with me? So I actually forgot to record the intro to this episode at the time. So I'm actually recording this in the heat of summer, which has been fantastic. Like, London is just a different place in the summer. It's like, maybe it's not so bad. So I've just really been enjoying the London summer and like hanging out with friends and going to events. I went to South by Southwest London, where I was actually a speaker at the Notion booth. So, I mean, I was on the South by Southwest app. So I guess you could say I was a speaker at South by Southwest. I wasn't on their website, but I was on the app, but with not my picture at the Notion booth. But you know what? It's all about how you spin it. Right, so that was a really exciting opportunity. And for those who don't know what South by Southwest is, it's basically this massive creative festival that's traditionally held in Austin, Texas, and it's just like massive over there. And for the first time this year, they brought it to London, which was super cool. Actually, I really enjoyed all the like talks and meeting people and the live music. But one thing I will say is that British people need to get better at networking. Like, I was at so many events or panels, etc., and people just weren't speaking to each other. It's really strange. Whereas, I mean, my background is I went to uni in America, where people are just so much more like outward and willing to get to know people. And I just wish that British culture had a bit more of that supportive energy, because we could get so much further if we just opened ourselves up and wanted to help each other. But alas, super excited to get into today's episode. Let's get into it. Hey London Business Babe. This community is built for us and by us to ungatekeep your next move and life in the city. If you never want to miss out, subscribe to the Substack, where episodes will land straight in your inbox. Plus, every other Monday, you'll get a chance to feature on the show by shouting yourself out in the Manifest Monday email.
This week, I want to shout out Selena Coles, who wants to have 25k in contract signed this week. Hell yeah! And also to Jessica Williams Chadwick, who wants to level up from freelancer to agency owner. Love this energy. Let's keep it going on the Substack.
You never know who's listening. Details in the show notes. Now, grab a cup of coffee or your favorite beverage and let's get into today's interview. Hello, so excited. Today's guest is Jaz Marfo, who is a certified career coach for high achievers to transform their minds and mindset to create the growth and change they deeply desire. Through coaching, community, and workshops, she introduces new ways of being that upgrade your way of doing for an ambitious career without burnout or boredom. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, I'm good today.
Amazing. How's your week going?
My week is going okay. It's pretty chill. It's a pretty unique time in life. Before we hit record, I was just sharing in the final stretches of a pregnancy. So I'm doing like this very beautiful blend of like nesting, napping, but then also there's just a ton of biz inspiration because I have the brain space, which is unique. But this is it. This is me. So it's actually been an all right week.
Oh, amazing. I mean, thank you for coming on when you could literally pop anywhere. When I saw where you'd booked in for, I was like, okay. I mean, I trust you that you know your body and how you feel, but
We're all good. I'll keep you posted of any movements, but we should be chill.
incredible. So I personally, I'm like obsessed with your personal branding. Like you do such a good job on LinkedIn, especially. I'm always excited to see your posts and just how you position yourself as like this anti-hustle ambition expert. Like I think that's so like incredible, to be honest. Like how what does anti-hustle mean to you, especially in the realm of building your own like dream career?
Yeah. I think anti hustle is a lot around kind of like the being first instead of the doing. For many years of my career, I kind of juggernauted through it, right? I kind of describe it as like me sliding into your goals and, burn the candle at both ends. Like I've done all of that sort of stuff. And it, for me, reached a point in my own personal career where I realized that that isn't, A, that isn't sustainable, but B, that isn't how the game is played. And it made me realize how many of us have defaulted into hustle. Hustle just looks like doing the most. I'm going to say yes to everything. I'm not going to have any boundaries. I'm going to put all of my value in my output. I'm going to put my value in the hours worked. It's very like, it's actually the way that we're trained to be through
Mm.
education, because that's what you see in education, right? You stay later, you get the extra credit, you do the extra assignment, and then you go into the world of work and you realize that isn't how winners win in the workspace, nor in the business space, right? Because nobody gets brownie points for calling up a client and saying, I know I charged you my day rate, but it took me 3 days. Are you proud of me? That's not how it works. All of the good old adages that we hear over the time, work smarter, not harder. I'm really big on making that a really practical thing and holding up the mirror to show people where they are doing the most and they can do much less and actually, in many cases, double the result, double the satisfaction in their career, double the results, make it easier, make it quicker to progress, all of those things, quicker to grow your business and things like that. But it's less about like you're turbocharging your morning routine, and it is more shifting your beliefs about what it takes to achieve success and what you're willing to
Mm.
give and what you have to give as well, because a lot of people overlook that part.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like, what's the specific thing that you feel like people are doing the most on, and where you're like, you don't need to do all that? Like, what's the most common thing that you see?
The most common thing I see is the hours.
Oh,
And I
okay.
see that when I work with people who work in professional settings, so they work for someone else, as well as those who are self employed. And that's typically the biggest game changer, is to work out how best people work. Because again, like this is what I mentioned where I said we're trained to work in a certain way, right? You go to school for the same hours. You go to work, it's 9 to 5, it's 9 till 6. And then you get into a place in your career. I think this is one of the things that I'm grateful for the pandemic for, is it gave people more permission to go, my brain is actually not braining right now, but it brains at like 6 till 8 a.m. Is that okay? And I think that experience and awakening was huge for me, kind of being late diagnosed with ADHD and learning to actually realize that I can smash at the right time and in the right set of circumstances. I can smash through a lot of high quality work in, say, 3 hours, rather than the kind of presenteeism mindset that we're trained into, which is I need to work for 8 hours a day. Like, I remember even talking to entrepreneur friends who was just like, yeah, I don't work Fridays. And it blows people's minds because they're like, but how do you make a full-time, how do you do this? Even, I was on Avidesi, who's been on your show. She posted something about a 4-day work week. And I was just like, I've done 4 days for the past year and I don't regret it. Caveat, I have a business, so I'm not always resting and chilling on those days. But do I get my full-time work done? Did I get promoted after dropping down to 4 days and the salary still went up pro rata? Yes. Do I still deliver at a high level? Am I still on track for a promotion? Yeah, all of those things. So it's like detaching it from the time, but actually recognizing that the value and the impact you deliver can be gotten a lot easier. And we save ourselves a lot of angst by doing those simple hacks like go for a walk when the brain is not braining. do the work when the work allows. Me, I love some tech. I love a good old scheduled email. You don't need to know I was up at 2. Okay. Some people will know I'm up at 2. I'm real. I'm authentic with the people who are authentic with me. But it's stuff like that. And you're just like, wow, I used to spend my time forcing myself to be productive. 4 hours, then a lunch break, then 4 hours again. And it's like, that's not how any of us are actually wired to work. And that's also not the way to get the best stuff out of you ultimately. So yeah,
Yeah,
time,
I hear
energy.
I hear that, and I love how you do have a quote unquote a 9 to 5. You're
Mm.
an employee, but then you also have a business. I think that speaks so much to just like a growing trend I see where we are as a society like slowly redefining what work and looks like for us. I'm seeing so many more fractional insert job title here roles pop up more and more nowadays compared to before where it's like what you said, the presenteeism situation where you just have to be there for 5 days a week when you might not actually need to be there 5 days a week. To be honest, you can get so much done with just automating things or working a bit more smarter and intentionally. And so how
Mm.
when you drop down to 4 days a week, how did your employer navigate that conversation with you?
Yeah. So I benefited from the fact that actually requesting to work shorter hours if you were happy to do the salary sacrifice was actually as simple as like verbal consent from leadership in the team that your job could
Mm.
fit within the reduced time. And then it was just filling in a form. To be honest, the true story of it is I was on track for a promotion and that kept getting moved back and back. And I just had a candid conversation. I had another review where it was like, oh, we want you to do these things again. And I said, okay, cool. This is what you want from me. However, I can't continue to give you 5 days of my life force on this current
Mm.
salary. So I'm going to drop down my day so I can go out into the open market and get my day rate.
Hear it.
I was very clear that was what it was about. Now, backstory, when I worked in tech, I wanted a 4-day week to focus on business to make it easier. It all kind of converged where all roads led to it. Even I remember having a conversation with my manager and she was like, when you get your promotion, because we're still working for it, will you go back up to 5 days? And I said, no, it is what it is. It was about me valuing my skills, and it was about me recognizing I do the work that I'm doing here. I see this as part of my work, but I have to find a way to adjust the value exchange that's happening, right? When I talk about careers, I define it as I am monetizing these skills over here in an employed basis, these skills over here as self-employed. That was the conversation I had with them. They agreed that I could get the role done in 4 days. They wouldn't need to hire anybody else. They didn't think anything would drop. They were mindful that if it was 4 days, they would support me in creating boundaries around that work, not creating
Mm.
a situation which a lot of people go into where it is, even if it's not officially condensed hours, people end up doing the absolute most. Whereas I'm the girly who will auto decline your request on a Thursday and drop you a message because I'm still a team player to say, loop me in on the recording. Let me know if there's something you want me to send
Yeah.
before. I don't work Thursdays. Even to the point when they were interviewing for my maternity cover, they were like, we'd love you to meet this person. Cool, I don't work Thursdays.
It was like, that's nice.
I don't work Thursday. I have to be really boundary for all intents and purposes. On that typical Thursday, I'm working with clients, I'm delivering workshops and doing stuff like that. I have a life outside of the job that, it's a priority for me. And it was interesting because I then had a conversation December just gone. So this was March of 2024, December just gone, had a conversation with a colleague and they were just like, if your role expanded, if your scope expanded, would you go to
Mm.
5 days? And I was like, no, they would just have to hire somebody if they really want more human beings in the building on the clock. I have found clients who I love working with. They
Yeah.
pay me my rate. It's really fulfilling work. I love having the spaciousness of like being at Everyman Cinema at 11 o'clock because I don't have anything else to do and I just want to have a day for myself, and especially approaching motherhood, that's even made my decision even firmer where I'm like, actually, I have a career that pays me really well and is really fulfilling. And it's already set up so that I can get that 5th day with my child should I choose once they arrive. So
Mhm.
it was a lot of it was process. A lot of it was just me being candid and anchoring into the reasons why this serves me. And I think that's a big thing, just being selfish in your career. Because they were selfish. They could have promoted me 6 months before they promoted me. You chose not to. So let me look at what's within my control and let me make some adjustments, and then you can adjust to my own adjustments. Hello. Because this is a negotiation.
I love so many things that you just touched on there. It is a self-worth thing. You need to know what you are worth and what you are capable of gaining on the free market. If your employer isn't necessarily expecting that, then you are within your right to make a selfish decision and choose you, essentially. Not only that, it is a confidence thing, not knowing your self-worth, but I don't know if confidence is the right word, but it's essentially feeling pressurized to making work your entire life, or your employer your entire life, and not prioritizing your life outside of work, which is what a lot of people fall into. It's the classic after work drinks that people are going to every day a week. It's just like I actually want to go home and hang out with my family. I've seen you people all day. I have a life. And so, yeah, it's just always an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I think, and it's interesting you raise that, because that's another area where I see people do the most. They don't have a strategy to it. They think I'm meant to go for every drink. And it's like you layer in the conversation about, how new entrants to the work market are missing out because they're not working in person and stuff. And it's like, I have built some of the best relationships by just being straight up and putting time. Hey, I'd love to get 30 minutes on the calendar. We were both in this meeting. I'd love to understand more about what you do. It has very rarely been at the pub or at the bar on a Friday. And I don't care if work finishes early. I'm still not coming for the one. Like, if I come for the one, I'm coming because it's somebody's leaving due, or I am actually genuinely available, both in terms of time, but also energetically. Because I think there's a lot of people that get suckered into it being 11 o'clock at night and you're at freaking all bar one in the name of networking or like being seen to be part of the team, when really none of those conversations are professional. And there's 100% a place for building relationships. When I started, I had welcome drinks. I stayed all the way to the end of that, and that was beautiful because I got to know people in a very different way. And I got to order food because I'm also that girl as well. We are not going somewhere where it's just I need a wing and a sweet potato fry in order for me to sustain. But again, there's a strategy to it. It was my first 2 weeks on the job. They had managed to gather people from different teams and departments that I'd be collaborating with that I hadn't had time on their calendar yet. So it becomes another place where people are like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, and I need to be seen to do that. I'm never going to be of the cold turkey school of my work will speak for itself. No, you need to speak for your work. But there are so many other ways to build relationships, and in a candid way, because also nobody wants to be the girly at the pub talking about the latest strategy updates. Please, it's 5 o'clock on a Friday. The conversation needs to be different. You're not building your career talking about your travels. It's not going to be what you want it to be.
Yeah. And of course, there's a cost to that extra time as well. You are having to, most of the time, spend your own money, like at the pub. And so in a way, that's like soft overtime that you're not getting paid for.
Not at all. And also, I'm speaking to the people who are listening who know they've been there and missed their last train and ended up having to get a cab. Do you know what I mean? It's tumbleweeded out of control, folks. Out of control.
Yeah, it's just like, no, it is so true. Like, all of this kind of just goes back to having better boundaries and understanding when you are doing the most.
A good boundary. This is the thing, like, don't get me wrong. It's funny, like, this whole thing is making me realize how much I'm just not a good girl when it comes to work. And I love that for me, because I used to be and it didn't serve me. But what it also means is that if you see me at drinks, I want to be there.
Exactly.
If I go for lunch with you, I want to go for lunch with you. Do you know what I mean? You're not seeing me like glaze over. I'm present. I'm in the moment. I'm not checking my phone. I prefer that reputation. Spread that reputation, folks. If Jaz shows up, she wants to be there because she will say no in a heartbeat.
When did you realize that you needed to start preaching the gospel of not doing the most and becoming like an anti-hustle career coach, essentially?
I would say a lot of it was through my experience in tech, because you see so many different careers, you see a lot of people start out. And what was beautiful about the world of tech and startups, it's not perfect by any means, folks, but what you watched there was folks be able to progress based on results. It wasn't based on a rule. It wasn't based on like, you need to be here at least a year, right? I got promoted at a time where I shouldn't have got promoted. Like I came into a role, so my role before this one, I came in as maternity cover for 12 months. We went into a pandemic. For all intents and purposes, they should have just let my contract expire. Peace out, A-Town down, let's cut our losses. They promoted me in the middle of the pandemic, knowing the person I was covering was coming back as well. My manager put together the case. They were just like, we can't lose you. The impact you've created, the systems, the playbooks. And that was after 9 months. And for me, that demonstrated that the world of tech was the first place where genuinely you saw success stories of the specialist. It wasn't everybody needs to be somebody's manager. Because I also have had experiences with toxic managers and I care about people. That's why I'm a career coach. So I have strategically avoided the manager track. That might change over time, but it was beautiful to see that pathway that then suits a lot of people. And I know overall it creates less damage than having people who aren't ready for management, but they want that pay bump, so they're in charge of several people's careers. So a lot of it was just seeing that alongside the backdrop of a really fast-paced environment that attracts the most ambitious, high-achieving folks. And then my own experience of going through my mental health struggles that in hindsight then discovered was connected to mismanaged ADHD, but seeing the actual like proliferation of anxiety, depression, poor well-being, all of that sort of stuff, it is in many ways that industry is very much like you see it in those movies where it's like it's not just the founder who's pulling all-nighters, it's not just the founding team or the first 10 or whatever. It breeds that sort of culture. And it made me really curious about another way of being. And I was able to start experimenting in my own career of pulling back, of having those boundaries, and not only having those boundaries, but explaining them. Not that I owe anybody anything, but actually using that as my sort of evangelism, so to speak, to say, if I get up early and do work, I'm okay with that, but please believe I will log off later. I'm very conscious of that. And that kind of goes in line with what I was talking about in terms of when you work best. I am an early bird. It is what it is. Anyone who becomes my manager will know that. And I have that conversation with them so they know, do not be worried if I sent you an email at 7 because I'm going to get my time back. But that's when the idea struck. So it was just seeing a lot of that, going through a lot of that, and the reality of being in the darkest place of my depression and realizing that I had run myself into the ground and I had to take radical responsibility for it. And not only did that have repercussions on my personal life and my well-being, but it also meant I was sitting in this place where it's just like, you have girl bossed too hard to the sun, that you like too close to the sun, that you can't even work if you wanted to, hun. How do you feel? I mean, like, I was being the shadiest to myself, but it was very real. I was just like, it's not worth it. You know, there's something, I think I posted it a couple months on LinkedIn and I just said it about hustle. I said, you know, just because I can drive in fifth gear doesn't mean that I should all the time. I can amp it up. I can selectively pull that out. We're all going to have that in our jobs. We're not going to pretend that you don't do the extra hours, that you don't build a client for just to kind of get it just right. We're not going to pretend that that doesn't happen, but we're going to recognize that that cannot be the default.
Yeah. Preach. No, it's so true. When you were realizing all this, what were the first steps for you in thinking, hey, maybe I can help other people with this? Was it webinars? Was it messaging people? How did you turn these values into a business?
A lot of it was me just sharing my story of burnout and coming out the other side of it, and then realizing that I haven't had burnout in years and starting to get curious about what that was. Boundaries was a huge part of it. So a lot of my work, working with people, especially one-to-one, has been around setting those boundaries in. A lot of it, you know, I call it like my anti-hustle philosophy that's woven into everything. So if we're talking about getting a new job, showing up on LinkedIn, I'm always going to give you the low lift, high impact way of doing it.
Yes.
Because it's so easy to just do the most. And then before you know it, you're doing the most in all of these different areas. It's too much. So that's always been a big part. But my business, so 7 years ago as a coach, I started out as a life coach. Started out doing workshops and then evolved into working with people one-to-one and then doing a blend of both essentially that I've done ever since. A lot of it is just sparked from sharing my story, but a lot of it is down to community. I sit with my fellow high achieving friends, some of which I met by just flying my freak flag. Like I remember years ago, I've got 2 friends that I met simply because I set up an Eventbrite co-working thing at like a Citizen M hotel. And I was like, are there any like side hustlers or freelancers or people that just want to work on a project on a Saturday, somewhere cute, have tea and coffee and vibe? And to this day, we're still friends. And it was just having those candid conversations to go, I'm not the only one that's gone through something like this. And we're all learning it the hard way, right? Some of us spend an absolute fortune on therapy. Some of us do the retreat, some of us do the sabbatical, some of us absolutely burn out, can't work for 6 months, move back in with our parents. We've all gone through that pilgrimage of the soul when it comes to, oh, this doesn't work for me anymore. And I didn't want to watch people do that. I'm a big believer that the world changes for the better when more ambitious people reach their goals with peace and in one piece. Every success story you see in the films, they usually have their dramatic period and stuff like that. But when it comes to real life, do we want to take 6 months out learning it the hard way? Or do we want to have those candid conversations with ourselves or with somebody like me? I had a one-to-one session with my client. I was just like, you're trying to earn your way into this opportunity and I'm exhausted listening to you. And she was like, oh, I was like, yeah, stop it. You're qualified. Can you take a deep breath, please? Thanks. Should have been like, I'm gonna be that girl all day. I want to be the girl in your head that's just going, and so why are we at the laptop right now? What are we doing? What's the intention? What's the impact?
I think that impact word is so important, especially what you're saying about low lift, high impact. Like, I've also shifted towards this way of like doing things, because a lot of the time high impact things can be low lift. We are so used to seeing things as that are low lift as like not valuable because of that whole like presenteeism like mindset. So you have to like break yourself.
We don't
free
think we're
from
allowed
those
to be
shackles.
talented.
No.
Like 100%. Like, we don't think we're allowed to be talented. And then you layer that with just the cultural layer of being women of color or from any underrepresented background. And again, I'm doing this broad strokes, but this is just based on conversations I've had with people who are not from the majority. We all have had ingrained in our culture some variety of you have to work twice as hard to be just as good. Sometimes it's said overtly, sometimes it's said in native tongue, sometimes it's from an auntie, from grandma, or sometimes you just see it. Like, a lot of us have grown up seeing our parents do the absolute most for the absolute minimum, and so we absorb that by osmosis. So when something comes easy to us, it either induces imposter syndrome because you think, what? You either downplay it, or it just feels very destabilizing. And you know what I also see with my clients is we go, okay, to legitimize my talent, let me go and do a master's. Let me go and do a course. Let me go pick up a little certificate. Let me do a little LinkedIn learning, because I can't just be good. I'm not allowed to just be good at this. And it does us a huge disservice, because if you spend 70% of your day in your strengths and your talents, you're winning.
Yeah, I hear it. That is so true. I have so many friends I can think of like just like picking up masters, and I'm like, you did realize like that is a lot of money that you are dropping,
and it's long. Listen, I have a postgraduate certificate because I was like, see this real estate degree, yeah? I don't think I want to do the dissertation. What does that mean? They were like, oh, you won't get the full degree, you'll get a postgraduate certificate. I was like, that's good with me. Excellent, wonderful. One day I will tell my child about my 1.5 degrees with pride.
I literally did that with Spanish at uni. Like, I took a Spanish class every semester, and I was like, because I just like love the language. Like, did I choose to minor in Spanish? No, because I didn't want to do the long essay at the end, and I was like, that's fine, I'll just have an economics degree. And so, okay, so you started out with like life coaching, private coaching. Was there any point where you felt like you needed to pivot what you were doing settingly?
I would say a big part of it was the pandemic. And I think it was just because the pandemic created a space where I found myself doing things because I could do them, as opposed to it being part of my intention and mission. And what it meant is I rode the wave that a lot of coaches did, right? I've been in this thing for 7 years, so I didn't start in the pandemic. I was here before, but it was one of those times where how important it would have been for me to be a lot more anchored in that time. I have zero regrets. I made beautiful relationships. I put on a global summit. Like, I did what I wanted to do, which was still very much aligned with my purpose. But I think it made me realize coming out of it that I wanted to be more intentional, because the industry just got so noisy. And I always ask myself, how can I make myself the clear choice for somebody who wants to choose me? And that's not about me saying like, how can I stand out and be the best and the number one career coach that you want? No, it's just, how can I be Marmite? And that's been my vibe ever since then, because you get used to being in the sea of people who talk about the same. You know, I've spoken about imposter syndrome. One of my top booked talks and workshops, I'm not the only coach who gets booked for imposter syndrome. Like, I'm always going to do it in my own unique way. And I think that was a big eye-opening thing for me, more around sort of like branding, positioning, things that I said yes to and things that I didn't. I'd probably say the second time to pivot is literally what's happening right now. Like in this space, the way that pregnancy works biologically is you have a couple months to, to figure out life before the human arrives. And I did that thing where I panicked and I was like, I'm going to create a bunch of courses. I got tired and I humbled myself and I spoke to my non-executive director, aka husband. And he was like, you're doing the most. Sometimes you have to take your own medicine. He was just like, you're doing the absolute most, babe. What's the least that you can do? And I was like, let me wrap up with these clients and let me just go into my cave of philosophical wonders, write, do podcasts, and when I'm ready, come back with something solid. And so literally as we speak, I'm in the process of realizing that I'm ready to have a group experience again. Like I've had memberships in the past. I did too much in them. And then so that left me with a little bit of trauma where it was just like, this is exhausting. But a big thing was me going deep, also combining my day job as a community manager. When my clients have an event with me, best believe we're going to have the bougie pastries. I will buy out the whole section of Marks and Spencer's white roses, and that's what's happening. We've got candles and we've got loosely. I was like, okay, it's time to lean into those things. Again, it almost feels like another evolution of the Marmite approach to stuff, where if I'm the coach for you, you will know it immediately. Yeah. If I am not, you will also know it immediately. And that's all I want when people get on a call with me, they look on my website. I just want to come with the Marmite vibes. That's been a big thing that's top of my mind at the moment. I'm planning a group experience and also in-person events. My background's hospitality, it's community, it's connection. We're ready for it. We're more than ready for it. Like we came out of the pandemic ready for it, and now people are like taking a day out of my life for me. Is really powerful. So excited to work on those things. And also for anyone listening who's on their maternity journey, I made the choice not to close my business. Speak to your accountants. I'm not anybody's accountant, but I could have gone on maternity leave in my sole trader business. I chose not to because it's such a huge part of my identity. Just as I was saying at the beginning, this week has been a blend of napping and nesting and just lots of bizspo. I don't want to feel funny popping open my laptop to record a podcast riff or a blog. We don't know how long I'll take off, but it doesn't go away just because I'm about to become a mum. And I feel blessed enough to be surrounded by amazing examples of that, both in terms of full-time entrepreneurs who are like, look, I'm going to see how it goes. Motherhood 100% is going to come first. I'm going to be in my love bubble. But also similar friends who have two-sided careers and they're just like, listen, the time and the space that I have now, I'm taking over the world while I'm on mat leave. So I'm not weird.
I'm not weird. Lizzie, who was on the show a few published episodes ago from today, wrote her second book as she was breastfeeding. I think it's a weird space because you don't have time, but sometimes you do have time because the baby is asleep a lot and you're just like, well, it's now.
This is it. And don't get me wrong, I watch all the Housewives. There's only so many franchises that one can watch.
But give your brain some stimulation.
Stimulation. This is it. Also with that ADHD, hyper-focus.
And if that's hyper-focusing on something that makes you money, then so be it.
Okay.
You briefly mentioned that you have an accountant. Do you have anyone else in your team that helps you take over the world?
Yeah, I've got a VA. I've had a VA for the past 5 years. Best investment I ever made. Wish I did it earlier. Especially being somebody who works full time as well. So the beauty of being able to be in back-to-back meetings and just see little notifications from ClickUp, the joy, as well as that differentiation piece that I was talking about in terms of just because I can do it doesn't mean that I should. So I try as much as possible to leverage my VA as a resource to keep me in my zone of genius. And that's worked. Even when I was in the trenches of the early stages of pregnancy, I was literally just delivering for clients. Everything else needed to be automated or someone else needed to do. Even down to sending an invoice, which is money. You know, you're just like, Jaz, why are you not putting together your invoices? Because as soon as I get off of that call and I deliver that high vibe workshop, I need to slither into bed because I'm broken. So it is literally, so it's been having a VA, and that's going to continue while I'm out. And in fact, I'm going to have more hours from my VA while I'm out, because what I've said to her is I want to be able to be fine not logging into my laptop and know that I haven't missed any opportunities, know that clients aren't kind of lost anywhere. Accounting support and a VA. Throughout the years, like I've worked with a ton of coaches, I stay coached. They kind of come under that budget of my support system, so to speak. But yeah, I'm a big fan of being supported, because when I look at how much I'm able to achieve in a short period of time, and also just finding aligned people. There's a lot of buzz around being a VA or whatever, being a really quick side hustle to set up. But I have been lucky to have been recommended to and worked with a lot of VAs who are like, this is my life's passion, to help founders bring their stuff to life, to be a support and to look for operational efficiencies and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, highly recommend.
I love that. Yeah, I'm on the brink. Let's just say that. Although I am getting someone to help edit this podcast, which is going to be a massive
Listen, I
weight
love
off my
that.
shoulder. So it's
Again,
like, I
you
can't
get to be
do
the
it.
chatty patty.
Literally, like I am going to make all the SOPs. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's interesting that you also have coaches. What are some of the skill gaps that you felt that you needed to be coached through?
I would say the first coach that I ever paid to work with, it was like a holistic set up your business thing. I went into Marie Forleo's B School when I first started out, and that is just like a very bait program where you are definitely one of thousands of people in the thing. The content is good, but you're not getting actual FaceTime. I
Yeah.
wanted to work with somebody who was UK based. I wanted to work in an intimate setting and go through the quote unquote almost rules of business, like have a business strategy. I've never been one for a business plan. I don't agree with them unless you have a certain type of business. So it was just that. And that was interesting because it allowed me to be in a space with other business owners and hear my own thoughts and process them and start to build that muscle of making my own decisions, which I think is the whole point of coaching anyway. People think coaching is telling you what to do. It's creating an environment for you to get clarity on what it is that you want to do. So it started out with that, and then a couple years after that I wanted to really learn copywriting because I love writing. If you had asked 7-year-old Jaz what she wanted to do, she wanted to be a writer. My business technically started with me writing a blog about my experiences and realizing, oh wow, people really connect with this. And then later on I actually got qualified as a coach. So that was a big thing for me. And then sales, branding, email. So those sort of things, which also for me is really interesting because of what I do as a day job. I've actually always been able to kind of use those insights that I'm learning from my business to advance in my career. Even when I went for a couple of my tech jobs, they were like, what would you teach the team? I was like, copywriting.
Yeah.
When a client is ignoring your requests for a call and all you can do is email them, you need copywriting as a skill. So I will teach the team that. And I've learned that by myself. And I think that allows me to continue to be an asset to whoever I work with. And it's kind of a little bit of a bonus because obviously this is getting expense to my business. So you ain't paying nothing for this, but I'm going to show up and deliver impact with it. So those have been the big things. And they've come at different seasons in the business. You know, like the email coaching is like me saying Instagram is not my friend and it's not fun. Most recently, I've joined a LinkedIn program because I'm just like, oh, I love it here and I just want to live here.
Yeah, no, I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn is great. It gets a bad rap, but if you just ignore the cringe and lean into it, you can make it work for you in a way that isn't cringe for you. It doesn't have to be cringe.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Hope you're enjoying the show. Would love to hear what you're thinking. Drop a comment and share your thoughts. Even better, if you're loving the show, take 2 seconds to rate us 5 stars wherever you get your podcast. It really helps other people find us. And if you want to be a guest, details in the show notes.
Thank you so much for sharing your business journey with us. Now we're going to switch into some things that make your life a little bit easier. And I always like to start off this section with music. And I know you love your music.
Yes, I'm named after music.
There we go. What do you have a walk-up song or a song that just gets you hyped?
Okay, so first of all, this changes a lot. Usually a very seasonal obsession with different songs. At the moment, it's a song by Jules with Jazz Karis and Getz called Summer Never Ends.
Oh,
I love it because it's very like house vibes, but it reminds me of what I loved about the funky house era, which was just like my whole era. And it's very summery. Like it is definitely one of those, the sun needs to be shining. I'll still play it if the sun's not shining, but that is a song where I'm just like, play that and I'm good to go.
Okay. I'm going to add it to the Spotify playlist, which you'll get in the part of this. Thank you. Yeah. So you've spoken a lot about personal policies that keep you centered, like waking up like you're just an early bird, etc. But maybe a more specific question for what you do. What is a weird, low effort, high impact thing that you do that moves you along in your business? I don't care if it's weird.
I spend time with small people. I will either spend time with my niece who is 3, Or message my mum friends and be like, send me some cute content of your tiny human.
Love that.
It just helps me put everything into perspective. And usually they're just hella funny. And I
Mm.
love the fact that toddlers just know themselves. If it's a no, it's a no. If they've got a
Yeah.
question, they got a question. If they want to tell everybody your business, they're going to do that. They are wild things, and I love it.
Yeah. I love that. I was with my niece a few months ago, and she just kind of had a bit of like a moment, like an angry moment. And I was like, "What's wrong?" And she was like, "Everyone was talking over me." And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Speak your truth." You
The
could even be
articulation
mad.
of the problem. Gosh.
Okay. So now, what do you? I'm always interested in this. Like style wise, is there anything that you have as part of your uniform that is just like a go-to?
It's really always going to be a cozy UGG. I have a selection of UGG sandals, UGG slides. We've got
Okay.
the winter UGGs. UGGs. I'm big on comfort.
Yeah.
I tend to get them in slightly different colours. So like I've got green ones in the winter, or I've got like bright blue or lilac ones in the summer. I'm plotting and scheming on some brighter ones, but we'll see what Vinted brings to the table, because I for sure not paying full price for UGGs
Yeah.
at
Don't
this
get me
stage
started
in
on
my
Vinted.
life.
Yeah, I love that. And then do you have like power outfits that you go to if you are hosting an event at work or anything? Like, is there a formula that you follow?
There'd always be a bright colour or something to describe. Whether it is like a red lipstick, or I'll wear my pink glasses or my green glasses, or like I mentioned, the fluffy Uggs. Very rarely would somebody else be in a fluffy Ugg sandal, or just like a bright cord, just a bright colour. I like to be the girl that you're just like, oh, I was speaking to the woman with the pink glasses or with the green glasses. I'm
Yeah.
big on us like helping people have descriptors. I also give permission for people to describe me as the black girl. I'm black. I know I'm black. It's okay. It's a descriptor that is permitted.
Yep.
But let me give you some other things. Red lipstick, pink lipstick,
Yeah.
whatever
Fair
it
enough.
is.
And then when it does come to beauty, one thing for your skin, so like face care if you're into that, one thing for your hair, and body care if you're into that you would recommend and can't live without.
Okay, so for the body care, there is a brand called Uwe. I don't know if you pronounce it that way, but either way,
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
it was in Sephora. They've got a body scrub, and it smells so delicious and it's so enriching. Like it gives luxe vibes. Like when you're having an everything shower, that's what I go to. The fragrance that I like is called Melrose Place, which is really interesting because like on my wedding morning, so my maternal grandmother's called Melrose, and without realizing it, I brought it as part of my wedding prep. I just had this really beautiful moment in the shower. I looked and I saw her name and I was like, okay, this fragrance is coming with me everywhere. Now they have created that connection for me, but that's the body product for sure. The skin product is Laneige sleep masks.
Yes.
Can you tell I'm a millennial? I will go to Sephora and spend that coin. Laneige, the sleep mask, is so nice. I have really oily skin, so as much as like it's like lather on 3 layers, I just need something that makes me feel really plump and bouncy and go to sleep and wake up feeling really nourished. And then hair's interesting since I have locks now. I will go for my go-to shampoo because I don't really need to condition. Yes, I use natural oils and stuff like that, but that's just a blend I've made. Maui hair products. You can get them in Superdrug, you can get them in Boots. They have a coconut one which just smells amazing, and the slip is so good. You don't use conditioner when you've got locks, so it's very conditioning and nourishing, and it's like natural, like it's aloe vera based and stuff like that, no sulfates, all that good fun stuff. So that's my go-to hair product.
Okay, thank you. And now to flip it a little bit, let's dive into more businessy, techie resources, which I know you love talking about. What are some go-to tech tools for you that make your life easier?
Oh, we're going to start off with ClickUp. My life is there.
No beef as a nation.
There's a checklist I assign tasks to my husband as it pertains to our child, as well as obviously delegating to VA. I realize I get so many ideas. I've even got a section called the holding bay, and it's all the stuff that is just like, do not look at this right now, but trust that it's written somewhere. So ClickUp is amazing for me. I love that I'm saying that to a Notion consultant. Look, I tried. It was just too unstructured for me.
Why I have a job.
And then this is it. I send people your way when people are like, oh, I love this Notion thing. I was like, you need to check out Francis. I have respect for what all of these tools do, guys. It's just this one is the one for me. Marmite. It did something right. The second one is a app called Reclaim. Why? Because it does two
Oh,
things. It tells me what to do. It is my boss. It reads ClickUp. It reads the estimated duration that I have given it and the start and end dates. It tells me that, Jazz, you should spend 30 minutes on writing this blog tomorrow morning. The second side of it is it's a scheduler. When my clients book in sessions, it reads my calendar to understand how many phone calls I have that day in general, focus work that I've prioritized, and it will basically hide parts of my calendar if it's too overloaded with other things that I have told it that I want to prioritize. So it's quite savvy in that sense. The third thing that it does, which is really nice, is if we book in, like how we've booked this in today, it's figured out that this is an online session. So it's given me 15 minutes decompression time outside of it. At the same time, it knows that I have a beauty appointment in Hackney at 2 o'clock. It's given me an hour of travel time either side of that automatically because it's read that it's got an actual address. So
amazing.
I'm here for the iRobot, the text going to tell me what to do. I give it the rules though, folks. And then it tells me that is 100% my thing. And then what's the last one? I've been enjoying the scripts. I can't lie. Because I was using one tool over here to do this and then edit over there. I use Descript. So I've got curriculum and trainings that I do for my private coaching clients. I've done a Learn to Like LinkedIn course. I recorded all of that in Descript and was just able to edit it and just run with it and just go. I love the fact that it's all in one. So they're going to have my money for some time to come because I'm a chatty patty. I create a lot of content, video or audio. I'm actually loving it. To be fair, I heard about it years ago, but I was like, what do you mean edit by transcript? That's not authentic. I'm over here on Adobe Premiere Pro. You don't know how to edit. And I was like, listen, I'm tired. The fact that I can put together a podcast, especially my most recent podcast where I've chosen to forego any intro music, bells and whistles. I'm just like, it's just vibes. Morning, everyone. Welcome to this episode. Let's dive straight in.
Woman after my own heart as a fellow Descript girly over here. Like all of the templates that you can pre-create and just apply to thing. I'm like, yeah, sick. Look, I don't have all. Yeah, do I have all of the fonts? No, but does that move the needle for me? No.
No.
Oh, hey again. Did you know there are roughly 100,000 London business babes out there? And we're on a mission to reach as many as possible. Enjoying what you hear? To support the hours of work that goes into making this special, you can either A, consider supporting directly as a paid monthly Substack subscriber to also unlock future exclusive content for less than a coffee and a croissant. B, any brands listening? We'd love to explore ways for you to be part of the journey. C, at the very least, on your next co-working date, tell a fellow London business babe about us. Details in the show notes. Now let's jump back in.
Love that. Thank you. Now we're gonna switch over to London for our viewers and listeners. As a London business babe, where are you located in the city?
So I'm technically Essex, but I'm Greater
Okay.
London. Yeah, I'm the Greater London borough.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, the Central Line goes out there, right? So technically.
Listen, yeah, Central Line's is 20 minutes away. I'm on Lizzie.
I'm
on Lizzie.
Like, it's
Lizzie's
all
my girl.
like everywhere around London. In my mind, I'm just like, it's fine. As far as I'm concerned. So you do spend a lot of time in the city, obviously. Like, what is on your personal London bucket list?
Like some stuff that I haven't done before. That's an interesting one. I'm going to go for one that's quite recent. I want to do one of those graffiti walks.
Ooh.
I feel like I take in the murals and stuff around sort of like Shoreditch, Clerkenwell sort of area, but I kind of want to do one that's like Camden and different places. I think that's unique about London, the unofficial quote unquote artwork that you'll find in the end. But also there's a lot where it's just like, oh wow, this pub has commissioned this huge mural on the side of their building and here's what it represents. So that's definitely one thing I want to do. What else is on the list? I'd like to go to the Shard. I've been there for an air conditioning workshop, but I'd like to go there for leisure reasons.
I have so many questions, but carry on.
Listen, my past life as a evaluation surveyor, the journey, it's a journey. But I like being up high. That's like a big thing for
Yeah.
me. Like even when I worked closer to the city, I'd find all the different roof gardens. I just find it so inspiring. So it would be me going to the viewing platform. I don't think I'd necessarily paid for like an overpriced meal there or anything like that. Like I'll eat at Borough Market and then pop in the lift.
Yeah.
Like,
To be fair, my little hack for going to high places is that I just order tea or dessert because I was like, I'm not paying £40 for this fish and chips.
this
I
is
can
my
sit
thing.
down
I
and
will pay
enjoy the view.
£11 for a tea. I will do that part for sure.
Treat you the same. So I'm like, it's fine.
This is it. It's exactly that. So it's like, I want to do that. And then the last thing I want to do is go to the Serpentine Gallery, which probably sounds really basic. Because like, Jazz, you've lived in London your whole life. Over the past couple of years, there's been more genuinely interesting stuff to go to at places like Serpentine and Somerset House. The programming's more diverse. So it's like, actually, take a day out, stroll through, pop in. That one has always kind of been on my list.
Love that. I think talking of Somerset House, the Prince of Peckham guy, they're doing like a pop-up there this summer, I think, as well. So yeah, there's so many cool things happening.
Stick in a pin.
What about your favourite places to go in terms of food, cafes, co-working? What's your vibe?
All of the spots. I love an aesthetically pleasing place. The first co-working spot that I fell in love with was Labs when they first opened in Holborn, because it was like, oh, where am I even? What is this?
I know what that is.
They are like, the aesthetic is just so clean. They are like one of the OG ones. So yeah, I'd probably say there for co-working. And typically if I've got a workshop and a busy day in central London, those are the meeting rooms that I book. I would also say co-working spots that I like are hotel lobbies. People sleep on the hotel lobby, but the hotel lobby is to be respected, okay? That establishment is 24 hours. You can come in and order a tea, and the Wi-Fi is always free. It's hospitality. The sofa is always soft, you know? I would say to people, branch out a little bit. Everybody just lives in the lobby of the Ace Hotel or the Hoxton. Those places are cool, don't get me wrong, but don't sleep on a young Hilton London Bridge. Citizen M is my favourite place. They capitalised on that. They were just like, listen, £15 for some unlimited tea and coffee. Every stage of my business has seen a couple Citizen M co-working days with friends, which has always been really good. But don't sleep on the hotel lobby for when you need to go toilet. This is one thing that I remembered from my hospitality degree. One of my lecturers was like, as long as you're dressed decently, to the left or the right of reception, there will always be a toilet. So just walk in with your chest high. Even if you want to ask, just where's the bathroom? You don't need to be in these streets busting for a loo. You go into that Park Lane, hotel with, your Crocs on. But no, but literally, I was like, oh, who knew? Who knew?
Yeah.
So yeah, stuff like that.
My favourite bougie hotel toilet is right next to Charing Cross Station.
Is that the Standard or the St Pancras?
It's like you get out of Charing Cross Station and it's before you even leave like the driveway, but it's to your right. I don't go to the toilets that reception send you to. Just walk in, chest held high, and walk up the grand staircase.
There's less traffic there. Do you know what I mean? This is the people who are there for the ball or the banquet use.
Exactly.
Also, I'm a big fan of a good hand tissue. Do you know what I mean? Very rarely do you have to use the Dyson thing. You've got like a little wicker basket or something cuter with a very good 5-ply linen napkin level thing to wipe your hands with. Listen, toilets are special, guys. You deserve.
Any food spots that you love in London?
So one that I'm ever so slightly obsessed with is a place called Shampoo in London Bridge. It's Thai food. Listen, if you are a meat eater, go and get that hoisin duck in roti. It's actually on the starters menu, but it's pretty sizable. Like if you wanted that and a little side for lunch, no judgment here. They put us in a private room and it was so beautiful. We all ordered too much food, but we took our time and ate it. The service was just lovely and just everything was just delicious. And something for everyone. So as much as I just recommended a duck dish, like friends who are veggie lived their absolute best life. There was no like boring tomato salad on the table. That's what I love at the moment.
Don't worry if it's a lot to take in. All of the amazing tools, spots and recommendations mentioned by our guests can be found in the Coffee and Oysters guide. Details in the show notes.
Well, thank you for breaking down your London guide. We are going to wrap up today. And a question that I always love to ask is there a recent win that you want to celebrate for yourself and something that you want to celebrate from somewhere else?
Mm. I think a win I want to celebrate for myself is recognizing that not everything needs to be done immediately. There's something about being in this liminal space of pregnancy where my capacity is just very unpredictable. Everything's unpredictable. Recognizing that the dream is still the dream, regardless of when it happens, and I can still work on it. The book I credit with forcing me to start my business is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. She gives this analogy of ideas coming to you, and if you ignore them for long enough, they'll fly away and go to someone else. That's kind of what happens when you open your feed and you're just like, oh my gosh, I literally had an idea for that. I was going to write a book on that. So that has always haunted me in a very empowering way. So in that same vein, it's like actually honoring that reality looks different now. I can have the intention for all of these things. I can lay the foundations. I can, in practical senses, put up wait lists, put in the bookings, go deep on what the intention is. And I think this is the first time in a long time that I have felt that pause and it doesn't freak me out. So I say that's a win. I feel like I'm evolving in that sense. Both as an individual, I have zero patience as a personal person and zero patience as a business person. So that's been good. And then what was the other one? The win from somewhere
Is
else.
there anyone else that you want to celebrate?
Someone else I want to celebrate is my friend Jess Sophia Bruno. She's an absolute powerhouse. We are 24 hours away from her doing her flagship networking event. She's all about community. She's all about content. And she's very real about her journey with long-term illness. She's a lovely person. I count her as one of my close ones. And again, like we met in the pandemic through biz stuff, vibed. Both of our partners are in music. There were so many things that aligned, but shout outs to her. She's always been very candid and open and wanting to serve and create more impact with a solid 90s playlist in the background. So shout outs to her.
I love Jess. Amazing. And then lastly, is there anything that you want to plug? And is there anything that you need help with? You never know who's listening.
Yes. Oh yeah. Listen, I love me some help. I love to be supported. I would say just really plug in the podcast right now. That's my little Dear Diary. I always say to people, my DMs stay open. So I always want things to be a dialogue in that sense. That's the only thing that I plug right now in the email. My email series that also is going out. And then what do I need help with at the moment? It's more about planning in-person events. I want to speak to people who don't mind talking to me about their career and what's going on for them so that I can build stuff. I'm really big on having muses in my business. So whether that's current clients or people who haven't worked with me, I just want to tap in because we've all got our own careers and our own sort of perspectives, but really excited to kind of go deep on some of the things that are important and help people with them on the podcast, in the emails, through these events. Like it's not always like a free thing. So if anyone's down for a coffee chat or just want to email me their dear diary, holla. I'm listening. I'm looking for some muses.
Thank you for coming on today. Where can people find you?
LinkedIn, homies. LinkedIn, Jaz Marfo, JazMarfo. And the website is justjazz.co. Justjazz.co everywhere. Connect with me there and don't be a stranger.
Incredible. I'm going to put all of your details in the show notes. But thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Thanks for listening. Get in touch at coffeeandoysters@gmail.com. Stay connected at Coffee and Oysters Pod on TikTok and Instagram. And never miss out by subscribing to Substack. Details in the show notes. And most importantly, keep those 5-star ratings coming and see you next time.